Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
I have with me today Ambassador Thomas Nicholson. He is European Union Special Envoy for Afghanistan. Welcome to the Prince, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the time. To quickly understand from you, I believe you had a fruitful visit to India. You met Indian officials. If you can tell us what were the conversations like and what is it that you discussed as far as, help reaching out to Afghan people is concerned.
My visit, I think, confirmed the impression I had previously that India's and the EU's perceptions on Afghanistan, on the challenges and what needs to be done, largely converge. We had very good and fruitful discussions. We confirmed that. We discussed issues related to the non-recognition of the Taliban. We discussed the humanitarian needs. We discussed the need also to engage in dialogue with the Taliban, not to try to isolate the regime, and to stay focused on the needs of the people.
That's interesting. To understand in terms of the fact, the issues that are facing Afghanistan right now, more than the recognition, we've seen that the economy has collapsed. There are reports coming up that children can die, about 1 million of them can die due to malnutrition. Now that countries are not recognizing the Taliban, how do you think the aid can be distributed? What will be those channels through which at least you can ensure, the EU can ensure that this aid and assistance reach the person who need them?
The humanitarian situation is extremely critical in Afghanistan, and the situation is getting worse. The EU has has made pledges to increase its humanitarian assistance from 60 million euros to 300 million euros. EU member states have made pledges of another 400 million euros. We already have people on the ground in Kabul working to have this assistance distributed to the people in need across the country. And we work not through the government, the interim government, we work through UN organizations and NGOs. And this we have done for the last 2 decades. So while the scale of the operation is more substantial, it is not a new thing to us, and it is also not a new thing to the Taliban. They understand what the EU is doing in terms of humanitarian assistance, and they appreciate it. And most of all, the people of Afghanistan need it and appreciate our support.
So if I can ask you, Ambassador, technically when it comes to the question of recognition, the US has already signed a peace deal with the Taliban in Doha. Many are calling it that as the recognition, right? And also in terms of assets being frozen, which are Afghan assets, is the EU doing anything about that?
We are very clear about our position on recognition. We do not recognize the interim government, and there are reasons for that. It's a government that came into power by force. It's a government that has revoked the constitution. It's a government that has said it's against democracy. It's a government that is unclear about its commitments to the international community, and it's a government that is non-inclusive. So we have many questions that need to find answers before we could possibly at some point move closer to a situation where we could recognize the Taliban. We are nowhere near that for the moment.
Okay, so from your expectations from the Taliban, do you want them to make it in terms of ethnicities? Do you think they are more Pashtun dominated? Do you want more women to be there? And what are your views also on the influential role that the Haqqani network is playing there?
The government we see in place now is dominated, is exclusively made up of Taliban. It is dominated by Pashtuns. It is dominated by the Haqqani network, and it's exclusively made up of men. This cannot be a government. This cannot be an interim government that represents the Afghan people. And as I have said, and as I have told them, there is a risk that history repeats itself, where we have seen in the past that the winner thinks that they can take it all, and under the winner takes it all slogan, after a decade or two, the winner loses it all. So this is actually linked to, or it's a parallel to the discussion about international recognition. Domestic recognition by the people is crucial for the survival of the interim government.
Ambassador, if I can ask you also the question about the fact that you've been engaging with the Taliban before the fall of Kabul and even afterwards. Do you see a distinct change in the fact that now they're in power? Are they willing to again consider in terms of having elections? What do they tell you?
I see a change in the sense that before 15th of August, it was a militant organization with a political office in Doha, still committed to negotiate an agreement with the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. They broke those promises, and they are now trying to transition from being not only an opposition movement and a militant movement, but actually to establish themselves as a, in a way, responsible government. They're very far from that, and it's a difficult situation for them to be in. They lack resources, they lack experience, because Afghanistan has also changed a lot in the last 20 years. The cities have changed a lot, also the countryside has changed, and they are not familiar with that situation. They are not well equipped to govern. So the situation of being, in opposition and being critical is sometimes more comfortable than when you're actually supposed to be responsible.
We were reading certain reports that probably the European Union is planning to open its mission there. I know you have people there on the ground in Kabul. You yourself spend half the time there. But in terms of opening up the mission, you don't think that's a recognition, or that's only to distribute the aid?
We have people on the ground in Kabul, as I mentioned. That's essential for the distribution or for the planning of distribution of humanitarian assistance. We also think that it might be useful to have a very small number of colleagues, not an ambassador certainly, present in Kabul to focus further on humanitarian assistance and also to assist in what we call safe passage. A number of Afghans who are under threat, a number of Afghans who may have worked with us, human rights defenders, a small number of people, but people that we care deeply for and have obligations towards. So from that point of view, it could be important and could be useful, and we're looking into the possibilities of establishing such presence.
Ambassador, my two last questions to you will be, and they are very key. When you had a dialogue with India, do you think, and that is from your standpoint, do you think India should be doing more in terms of bringing Afghans here? We've started giving the e-visas, but the flights are not there. We want to send wheat and medical devices and medicines, many other things, but we've not yet been able to do that. Do you think India needs to really step up?
I think India is well placed to engage with Afghanistan in many ways. You have been the most generous regional donor. You had very strong presence close to the people through development cooperation for decades, and there are strong historic roots. So I think given your place, given India's place in the region, there is a role that could be played. We appreciate, and I'm sure the Afghan people appreciates the offer now to send humanitarian assistance, 50,000 metric tons of wheat. That is one important element. But also to build perhaps on the previous engagement and see at some point whether you can continue being close to the people and increase assistance could indeed be one way of remaining engaged.
But India's concern mostly is about the fact that there is the Haqqani group. Indian embassy had once been attacked, and then India also sees a larger role being played by Pakistan as a shadow government there. What do you have to say to that?
I listen to the concerns. I understand the concerns by Indian officials. You need, like we do, security guarantees, if that's the right word. You need to be comfortable before sending people into the country and also into the countryside. So those decisions, I imagine, will take some time. The only thing I can say is that it's of key importance for all of us who wish to see a peaceful and a stable Afghanistan to do whatever we can to support the people, and as a first priority to help the people get through the winter.
And Ambassador, my last question. I do believe that the European Union also wants the Taliban to take certain steps as India does. But what are your concerns in terms of the fact that the violence there has not stopped? We're seeing increasing role being played by the ISIS-K. Do you think that also has certain kind of linkages with Pakistan? That's what India says. And also the kind of dialogues that we have, the Moscow format, then there are the Central Asian countries doing it, Pakistan is doing one dialogue, China is involved in it. How do you see all of that panning out in the months and years ahead to come?
I see a value in because I think many of us are looking for replies and answers to address a complex situation we are facing and a complex situation in Afghanistan. Talking together in various formats is useful. It should of course not end with talks, but if we can pass similar messages to the interim government, if we can also jointly provide humanitarian assistance, I think this will increase the likelihood of a more positive development. The spread of violence, the increase of attacks by ISIS-K is a matter of great concern. But the situation varies in different parts of the country. It's a matter we need to monitor closely. The Taliban have made clear commitments. They claim to be taking action, and we will certainly keep following the situation. And this will be a key, continues to be a key concern for us. But again, as I said, the concern about security, there is also a link between the humanitarian crisis and security. And unless people find a way of surviving, unless people find livelihood, the breeding ground for terrorism, the risk that people might join some of these organizations will increase. So the best prevention is not the only thing we need to do, but the best prevention is certainly providing hope and providing a way in which people can survive, and as a very first step to get through the winter.
Ambassador, just a smaller question, a sub-question to that is the fact that do you see any kind of indication that there could be a civil war by the time spring comes and we see the Panjshir resistance starting again?
There is a risk for violence to increase. As I mentioned, I don't want to speculate about what scale and time. Our focus now is very much to prevent the situation from getting worse and to provide assistance the way we can, as quickly as we can, distribute it to the people who need it, and at the same time engage in a dialogue and try to promote change from the interim government, the change India wants to see, the change the EU wants to see, the change that partners in the region wants to see, and what we think is also in the interest of the Afghan people.
Sure, thank you so much. That was Ambassador Thomas Nicholson, Special Envoy of the European Union to Afghanistan. You are watching The Print. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel.